I'd like to call the Budget and Finance meeting to order. We have some of the members present, but I do know that others are here and will probably be joining us. Okay, so is there a motion on the minutes from the previous meeting? I have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. And I have a second. Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, the minutes pass. Now we'll go to what's new on Budget and Finance. And today we have three pieces to come before this committee. The first one is an ordinance accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission of Summit County and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the Summit County Fiscal Officer and declaring an emergency. Mr. Fricker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is our annual certification of the property taxes levied by the City of Akron against Akron property owners. So this is the same millage as we have been levying for the past few years. We are at the maximum rate that our charter allows, which is 10.5 mils. You can see on the legislation the distribution across the various funding areas. So the general fund gets the largest portion of it, which is about 6.48 mils. We also have some for debt service, a portion to the EMS fund for our EMS operation. The police and fire pension funds get a portion to pay the debt service on those bonds. And then we have another debt service piece that we levied in 2017.
Is there anyone on the committee that has any questions or concerns about this piece of legislation? Seeing none, are there any members of council that have questions or concerns about this piece of legislation? Seeing none, what is your pleasure?
Consent agenda, please.
Okay. May I have a motion for consent? I have a motion. May I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, this will be placed on the consent agenda. Our second piece to come before us is a resolution requesting that the Summit County Fiscal Officer make an advance payment of tax funds for tax year 2019 payable in 2020 to the City of Akron Treasury Division and declaring an emergency. Mr. Fricker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This piece is also an annual piece that we do. It goes along with the certification of the tax levy. And what this allows us to do is receive advances for the property taxes that the county collects. So as you're aware, we pay our property taxes in two halves each year. This allows the county to disperse those funds to us as they collect them and not just after we receive the final settlement report for each half. So we get three different distributions of taxes in each collection half.
Thank you, Mr. Fricker. Are there any questions from members of council that are on the committee? Councilwoman Amobian.
For whatever reason, my report is not coming up. Let me ask you this. The money that we're requesting, are we also requesting advances toward the levy dollars through issue 4, I think?
Well, no, so income taxes are collected differently because we collect those ourselves.
Okay.
We're actually getting income tax in every day.
Okay.
The biggest collections that we get are from withholding taxes, which are due on the 15th of each month. But the income taxes actually come in directly to the city, whereas these are paid to the county and then are dispersed out to each city, because that's a function that the county does for all the cities within Summit County.
So this is totally separate from issue 4?
Correct, yes.
So we don't get anything in advance for issue 4?
No, issue 4 is purely income tax that is collected directly by the city.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you very much.
Any other members of the committee? Any members of council have a question? Seeing none, what is your pleasure?
Consent agenda, please.
Is there a motion for the consent agenda? I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, this will be placed on the consent agenda. The third piece to come before us is an ordinance amending the ordinance number 93-2019 passed March 25th, 2019, which established the annual appropriation for the current expenses, other expenditures, and the capital outlays of the City of Akron for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2019, and declaring an emergency. Mr. Fricker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the first amendment to the original operating budget that we passed back in March. So these are the adjustments to appropriations. Mike Wheeler, he was our new audit and budget supervisor, is passing out a narrative of the kind of a summary by each fund of the adjustments that we're seeking to make.
I'd like to give the committee a moment here just to kind of glance over those, and then we'll see if there are any questions. Are there any questions from members on the committee? Councilwoman Amobian?
I have a question. Are we planning to take any action on this tonight?
No, we'll be seeking consent agenda for this. Yeah.
It's a good question. Are there any questions from members of council that are in the chambers? Once again, Councilwoman Amobian just asked if we'd be voting in this. The request will be to place it on the consent agenda, so if there's more you want to peruse or ask questions about. Right. Okay. Councilman Neal.
Mr. Fricker, this right here is for adjustments to the 2019 budget?
Correct.
Okay. I know you and I had some conversation about it, and I know the state recently issued the refunds to corporations and to governments from the workers' comp. Shouldn't we get some information showing how much the city got back on that and approve where the administration put that money?
Yeah, so right now, the first distribution that we've gotten back from the state just went back. So it was a refund based on our group retro participation over the past 3 years. Mm-hmm. That was approximately $600,000. That currently is just residing within the workers' comp fund. So the fund that expended the monies for the premiums and claims got the money back.
Yeah, but shouldn't we, shouldn't that come before council? I mean, because it wasn't in our regular budget, we didn't know it was going to come back.
Right, we're not, well, to some degree we did know it was going to come, because what happens is when you participate in the group retro plan, those funds are dispersed over a 3-year period. So a portion of what we got this year was for the 3 prior years. So to some extent, you do know that you're going to get those monies back. Well, you don't know exactly what you're going to get, but you do know that you will be returned funds for your previous claims experience.
Well, I'm somewhat familiar with that, because on a much smaller scale, from my business being a part of a group rate, you understand if there's going to be a refund or if there's going to be increases. But my point is, because we had this come before us before when council didn't know that we got about a $1.2 million rebate. We just last week were talking about the lack of funds to address a lot of the needs that came before us in our different grant, the grant programs, Beyond the Table, the City Council Neighborhood Grant, and we know that we have money like the credit card rebate. Most of you, unfortunately, weren't here, but we know that when we moved our health department under the county, we saved $1 million a year. and the goal was to appropriate that to address health issues, and the one that we've all talked about is gun violence. And now we have this money that wasn't part of our 2019 budget that came back. I think this money, that figure should come before council so we can have a conversation with the administration on how to best utilize it. Because when you pay your workers' comp, that's a part of your budget with your overall payroll anyways, for any business. It's a part of your expense. So when that money comes back, it's like a windfall, even though you anticipate it. So I just think that if we're getting this on adjustment of expenditures, we should get something showing when we get a windfall like that, so that council and administration can look at how to address needs that we haven't been able to address to date.
When we do receive the remaining distribution on the workers' comp from the Bureau of Workers' Comp, we will let council know what we receive, but we will also present it as a plan for what the balance of the general fund will be at the end of the year. So this is something that we factor in as we are proceeding throughout the year. If we have extra monies that come in and we have extra expenses that we also have, we weigh those together and we see what the health of the fund is and whether or not we can appropriate those funds in a different way.
Madam Chair, I respect that, but I think that's part of the business of council in working with the administration. I mean, that's considered a windfall. It's not how we budget and how, you know, I still have problems where we say we use the credit card rebate dollars to balance our budget. That shouldn't be. Council should have some say on how to use those dollars. Now we've got needs that have been addressed over our conversation in these chambers over the past few weeks, talking about beyond the table, talking about the city council grant, not to mention other needs that need to be addressed. I mean, I've got playgrounds in my ward that have cracks that are as wide as this and about 2 inches deep. And we have to be able to find money, and when that kind of money comes back, when we combine the 2 years almost, we're talking now, when we talk about the refund from workers' comp combined with the credit card rebate, we're talking about $2 million. $2 million that
Well,
come back before this council.
I beg to differ on the amount, because the credit card rebate only brings in about $100,000 a year.
Correct, but I said over the last 2 years, 125 to 150, so that's about anywhere from $200 to $250,000.
It's about $200,000.
Okay, so $200,000. We got back 1.2 from workers' comp not too long ago, about a year ago, no more than a year and a half, and then we get 600 here, and you're expecting more. That's $2 million.
Okay, again, but we will weigh that in terms of the regular day-to-day operation expenses of the general fund and see if we are in a position to reappropriate those dollars that we get back from the Bureau of
I
Workers'
appreciate
Comp.
that, but one more thing. That's why the beginning of the year when we set the budget, that budget is not set on rebates and a potential refund from the state on our workers' comp. When that money comes back, that money should be budgeted. That money should be budgeted, and past practices cannot continue. We're talking about $2 million that could have come in to benefit the community. So it goes into the general fund, and then it gets lost. I would like to see that practice change to where council and administration looks at when money comes back, as we should, as is best practices outline, and then we reappropriate those monies so that they can be used however is seen fit. Thank you.
Consent agenda, were there any other comments?
Correct consent agenda.
I'll make a motion for the consent agenda. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, this will go on the consent agenda. Is there anything else to come before this committee? Okay, well, since there isn't, I think that I should say, Congratulations, first Steve Fricker, to you for the position that you now hold, and then to Michael Wheeler. Congratulations. Stand up, Michael, so everybody, we don't see enough of you, so.
So
too
we
bad
actually
we're
have a couple of
missing
different announcements here. As you mentioned, we have Michael Wheeler, who was recently promoted to the position of Audit and Budget Supervisor. And we also have a new Deputy Director of Finance, Shelley Goodrich, who is sitting behind me. So
Yep.
she started last week.
Yeah, and she's been with the city before.
She has been with the city
in a
before
capacity.
in our law
So this
department.
is great. You got a great team behind you, and I just wanted to make sure that you all know how much we appreciate what you do. So thank you very much and congratulations. And with that, we are adjourned.